So greetings, friends and followers. This is Nurses Talking. I am Dale Barzi. As always, if you like what you see and hear, subscribe, leave us a comment. On this show, we speak to nurses anywhere on the planet and at any stage in their nursing career, from students to retirees. And we take the opportunity to share our challenges, our inspirations, our visions, and all our goals. And so today I'm very, very pleased to welcome Kevin Gibson. Kevin
Hi.
is a registered nurse. He is a Navy nurse, am I correct?
Not
Out of the Navy.
not necessarily a Navy nurse, at least not yet, but I am still in the Navy, but I do work as a nurse as a civilian.
As a civilian. Okay. All right. And you actually were a surgical tech and a surgical tech instructor.
I was, yes.
And you're the boot nurse.
I am a boot nurse.
You have to,
I'm
and so you
a
have to tell us
through and
about all
through.
of that. But
I
the
am.
first thing I usually really want to know is why people are nurses. So why are you a nurse?
Why am I a nurse? That's a good question. I had a lot of good mentors while I was growing up in the Navy, and a lot of good nurses, a lot of good doctors, a lot of good other surge techs and other corpsmen that I worked with. And one day I just said it out loud. I was just like, I want to be a nurse because I see the impact that they have on patients, but then I also see the leadership aspect, at least military wise, that officers and nurses in the military have. And I enjoy taking care of people. So the satisfaction that I get from taking care of somebody and healing, or it's just that self-satisfaction of helping someone. I've always been that type of person, so
Yeah.
that's why the nursing kind of seemed fitting for me.
Yeah. So were there then challenges, because now you're a Navy person and you're a civilian nurse, right?
I am.
So what is the challenge like moving from one thing to the other, or if there are any?
Well, there most definitely are. Some people don't necessarily have, I guess, that struggle, because they can kind of turn some things off and turn it on. I was in the Navy, or I'm still in the Navy, 15 years, and it's kind of hard to turn Navy off. Kind of hard to turn the military aspect of things off. So it was a transition for me to not do the Navy stuff full time, but then the civilian stuff part time. So you get used to those things that you've had for a decade and a half. From the structure to the paychecks to the benefits. You get used to all those things, and then you make a conscious effort, or conscious decision, I should say, to stop that. Yeah. Or to limit that, and to go out there to do what the other 99% of people do. And the transition was difficult because it was kind of hard to turn that off. But I've been off active duty for a little over a year now, and it's a not necessarily a challenge, but it's definitely something we adjust to, or I should say I adjust to every day. So, but other than that, I mean, adjustment kind of comes with the territory of life. So that's kind of how I'm moving forward with that one.
Yeah, actually, it does come with the territory of life adjustment, and if you don't, you get left behind.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to get left behind, at least not now. So
I didn't get the feeling that you were.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the other switch, though, that I think might have been difficult, or might have presented a challenge, is switching from surgical tech to nurse.
Yes. I actually had it's funny, I actually had a very hard time, not a hard time, but it was right when I was in the beginning of nursing school, when I was doing fundamentals, and I had a hard time turning surgical tech off, because I was in nursing school while I was a surgical tech, but also while I was an instructor. So I was teaching, students while I was, a student.
Yeah.
And some things like, sterile technique or something that I'm very, very, I understand very, very well. So when I hear a nursing instructor say something that is not accurate, I had a hard time, adjusting to what, the nurse's aspect of it says versus the surgical tech aspect of what it says. But that part was a struggle. I made out like kind of like a bandit, at the beginning of that. But I realized that was actually a really good defining moment to where I had to learn how to turn Navy corpsman off and surgical tech off and relearn everything I needed to learn, from the book in the perfect book world and not what I have learned in the real world.
Yeah, I would think so. I would think so. Yeah. So what is your current specialty? Where do you work now?
So currently I work in the operating room.
Okay.
So I work as a circulating / scrub nurse.
Mm-hmm.
So I can, work, side by side with the surgeon and, assist them during surgical procedures, or I can circulate the room and, make sure everything is taken care of equipment wise, patient wise, medication wise, assisting anesthesia, making sure everything in the room, logistically is running correctly. So that's what I do now.
Yeah. In fact, you're kind of, although most surgeons wouldn't admit it, but you're kind of the boss in the room.
Yeah, there's definitely no there. Yeah, there's definitely no kinda. It's like the circulating nurse runs the room.
Yeah.
Even though the surgeon is ultimately responsible, if it wasn't for the nurse making sure that everybody was good to go, that room would not run efficiently. I've known that for a long time, but to be in the position of that actual OR nurse taking care of that, like it's definitely there. That responsibility is definitely there.
Yeah. I worked in trauma OR for a little while, and that responsibility can be heavy.
Oh yeah, it definitely can, especially when when things happen unexpectedly. You got to know like the procedures, you got to know where to find things, you got to know who to call.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like that one-stop shop, or like that directory or phone book. Do people still use the phone book?
Well, I haven't thought of it like that, but yeah.
You're like that directory. So you got to know where everything is at and who to call, and get those things moving for that patient in case things
like
start.
now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, you were 2 years into nursing, you said?
I got my nursing license in 2020, so a little over 2 years now.
A little over 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
A little over 2 years. So far, as you observe it, it's one thing to observe nurses in the military, but as you said, it's kind of different civilian life.
Right.
Any aspects of nursing life you'd like to see change?
I would like to see. I have two answers for this one.
Okay.
The first thing I would like to see is for nurses to not feel like they have to compete with one another, and to genuinely uplift them. People always seem like it has to be a competition when there are plenty of positions and things for people to do within the field, not just bedside, but outside of bedside. And also being willing to help one another. Like I've realized that there's a lot of disgruntled nurses that are out there even before COVID, and it's just I would kind of like to see that aspect of it change. To show those younger nurses like myself that it's not so terrible being bedside, or it's not so terrible dealing with administrative leadership, or dealing with your director or your manager. I feel like personally, I came into the nursing field all bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and ready. And then like I show up and they're just like, all right, well, pause. We're going to need for you to take all that happiness and throw it out the door, because that's not what we're about here. But I can say that I have met some fabulous nurses while I've worked. I've met some that, you know, it's unfortunate to say that, but if they were stuck on the side of the road, I'd be like, sorry, I can't help you because you just seem like you're an unpleasant person. But other than that, I would say my second one would be that I would like to see change would be the way that we teach and precept. And I always feel like it's something that maybe I'm a black cloud when it comes to the starting something new, and I feel like I may have a bit of a rough patch. But I started off in the ICU, and
Okay.
I was there for 7 months, at least 7 months in the hospital that I'm currently at. I did do a 6 month what they call a skill bridge, which is an internship in the
Yeah.
military at a burn center in the ICU there. And so that's where I got my ICU experience. And I loved despite what was going on with those individuals there, I enjoyed the training and all of the people that I worked with there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when it comes to the civilian aspect of it, it was a little bit different because, ICU, you're supposed to get a little bit more a lot more
A lot
training,
more.
because, everything from, you know, from
Your CVP
Swan
line.
Gans,
Yes.
just knowing and understanding that, your CRT, just all those things. And, a lot of the new nurses, not just me, I guess I can kind of speak for now. A lot of the new nurses now is like they're not getting that, or they're not getting the correct preceptorship, and they're trying to rush to get these brand new nurses who are right out of school onto the floor,
Yeah.
just so they can, meet numbers. And I understand because a lot of those seasoned nurses are being, tripled and quadrupled. And, I was one of those, unfortunately, when I got off orientation, which I asked for an extension, but they pretty much told me that no. And I got stuck with like 3 patients, like the first day off of orientation. And it wasn't a good bunch of patients either. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is, pretty much at that point. So I would like to see um the preceptorship, and the education is there, like the material is there. Like I know I've seen it. It's just the preceptorship. It's just
Hmm.
I would like for that to change and give people a better aspect of what they're learning when they go into the nursing field or whatever, bedside position that they're going to.
Yeah. 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 And that probably has a lot of contributes quite a bit to the burnout and the frustration that we're seeing. And people
Yeah.
just throwing up their hands and saying, "I'm so done."
And it's crazy because I've seen nurses that have been, I mean, 10, 15 years that are phenomenal. I mean, phenomenal teachers. And, within the next week they're gone.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, man, like I wish I could have like benefited from that, like from all of the knowledge. Or, I wish I could have, you could have, taught me a little bit more tricks or how better to understand this, or
Yeah. Yeah.
to at least make me, or at least be in the room to make me feel comfortable about what I'm doing, or be that
A
resource to answer my
resource. Yeah.
answer my questions. So, but you know, for the state of what nursing is right now, a lot of us don't have that, or a lot of nurses don't have that.
I know. I know. And that really is worrisome because it's like taking the bottom bricks out of the wall.
Yeah.
The wall's going to fall.
And then, yeah, no, if we don't, it's like the foundation of nursing is definitely crumbling. I didn't necessarily talk to, but there was a nurse who had been a nurse for 25 plus years, and they were like, I'm retiring. I'm not mad at you for retiring by any means.
Mhm.
But you've done your time, and you've probably helped out a ton of nurses and helped out a ton of people that you couldn't even imagine. But it's just like people like that, who have been in the field for a
Yeah.
long time, due to COVID, have left. And
Yeah.
it's just like kind of like I said something to somebody, I think it seems like there's a generational gap. There's a generational gap in nursing, because all of the knowledge is
Yeah.
gone. And now it's like all of us younglings, all of
Yeah.
us boot nurses have to
Yeah.
figure it out on our own.
Yeah.
And while not ideal, it'd be nice to have, you know, a little bit more of those resources
Yeah,
to, you know, to better guide our, and I say our, but to guide our, you know, career field.
absolutely. Absolutely. Anyway, so you are the boot nurse.
That's me, the one
Tell
and
me
only.
about this because you're helping people pass NCLEX and all this kind of thing. So talk to me
I
about this.
I am. Okay, so it's kind of funny. I had a book. I wish I had it. I think I still do have it somewhere, but I tried to come up with all these names, and the boot nurse seemed to just be one that just fit. It sounded kind of corny, but after a while, it just fit. Like kind of like, you know, you kind of just hear it all the time. I came up with the name, you know, based off of two different reasons. One is because I'm in the military, you know, military individuals who wear boots all the time, so it seemed kind of fitting. And then we use the term boot as someone who just joins the military, doesn't matter officer or enlisted, but we use it, you know, as a term for someone who has just come into the military who doesn't know anything about anything. So it's a consistent learning. It is consistent learning throughout
Okay.
your entire career.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, and that's just essentially like where that term came from. And then of course, you know, boots, like I said, with we're in the military, wear boots. So, you know, anybody that's civilian, when they see you in your uniform and they see the boots, they'll be like, oh, you must be Army, Navy, Marine
Maybe.
Corps, something along the lines of that. So that's how the name came about. But it also is a way for me to give back to give back to my community. I'm a huge proponent of that. That's why I became a surgical tech instructor, is because I
Mhm.
went to school, I became an instructor. I saw what I didn't like coming out into the Navy and Navy medicine in regards to surge tech. So I wanted to be a part of trying to fix that. And that's why I became an instructor. So I kind of tailored that into the helping with the NCLEX, is because I failed my NCLEX, you know, 3 times,
Mhm.
and I passed on the fourth. And I had a lot of good. I had good support. I had a great mentor, um, and ultimately, I never want people to feel how I felt. Like I never want people to feel like they didn't have anybody to talk to, anybody to confide in, and I never want anybody to feel like they're a failure at an exam that does nothing in regards to, you know, judging you if you're going to be a good nurse or not. I've met nurses who are phenomenal who have failed their NCLEX, you know, multiple times, and I've met nurses who are terrible who have passed on the first time. You know, so it's a toss of the coin.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, you know, I feel like it's my duty, you know, for humanity and for nurses to try to, help give people that nudge so they can, you know, live out their dream and accomplish that goal of being a nurse.
Yeah. So you do this coaching one-on-one or just through your videos?
I actually do a bit of both. So I will make videos or I'll post them on social media, and I'll also post them on YouTube. But then I also I do one-on-one coaching, based off of, you know, understanding who they are as a person, you know, motivating them, and then telling them the things that worked with me, understanding what didn't work for them and trying to tailor something for them based off of, you know, whatever they purchase, or if they ask for my opinion, or if they need that one-on-one hand holding on how to understand NCLEX style questions, or how to better understand content. Like, how can I make the content relatable to
Yeah.
what you do in your daily life?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or understanding what the question is truly asking. Like, look under the surface,
Mhm.
not what's being really presented like right here in front of your face.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's essentially like what the coaching,
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
there for.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. That's a big thing. And you talked about based on you mentioned what they purchase. There's so much stuff out there to purchase that
There's a ton.
it's difficult to know if you really don't have guidance. What is the best thing? Which is going to work for me? Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And that's why I always suggest a mentor. Like I've made so many videos and I've clipped so many and I've put them on social media where I said, get a mentor,
Mhm.
Get a mentor. It doesn't matter if they're a 25-year nurse or if they're, a 5-year nurse, if you want to get somebody relatively close to you, then that's fine. But get a mentor so, somebody can help
Yeah.
guide you. And so I have people, I just had a gentleman today message me and ask me about, a specific review. And he asked, what my recommendation was. And I was like, I love that review. I was like, I actually did that review in the past and I thought it was great. My suggestion is that if you want to do it, then do it. It wouldn't hurt you if you did, if you didn't do it. So and the mentors, giving information in the mentorship essentially is free. It's just like I have no problem answering onesies and twosies of questions. But
Yeah.
if you want me to handhold, if you want me to handhold you and walk you through it, day after day after day, then you got to come and look at some coaching.
Yeah. 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 Got it. Got it. Got it. So, Kevin, I am collecting these words because I want to see what nurses see in nurses.
Okay.
And that came about because of one of the reasons that I do this channel. Because one of the reasons is that I want nurses to see how big, how vast this profession is, and where we are, how many different things nurses are doing. And that if you're stuck in one place, you don't really have to, or you don't really have to feel stuck actually in one place. There's so much to fit to. So I want to see what we see in each other. And so I've been asking people if you could describe the most essential quality of a nurse in just one word, what would that word be?
Versatility.
Whoopsie, I think that's the first time I've had that one.
Versatility. Because before I even became a nurse, everyone always said that, you got to go do your time. You got to go do bedside. And I was one of those people. I was like, man, do you really have to do bedside? And because I've met other nurses who, it was a very, very small group, but it was like, I met other nurses who had never worked bedside.
Yeah.
And one of my other mentors, she was also an OR nurse, but she has her master's degree in public health. And ultimately she wants to do public health. And I ended up meeting a few people that she knew who had never touched a patient. And essentially what people don't realize is that when you're a nurse, that versatility, it allows for you to be the CEO of your own license.
Yeah.
Like you are the boss of your license. You never have to feel stuck anywhere. Like you can go and work for an insurance company and do case management. You can go and do data analysis. You could be a travel nurse.
Yeah.
You could do women's health.
Yeah.
You could do
you can work at the airport.
You can work at the post office.
Yeah.
Like there's so many things and you could actually go be a nurse on a cruise ship. A lot of people don't know about that.
Yes.
I was like, you could go and do crisis assignments. You can be an international travel nurse.
Yeah.
Like there are so many things that people can do as a nurse and just not like you could travel the entire world with your nursing license. Yeah. You not even realize it.
And that's what I want people to know. That's what I want people to know. Not just us, but the people who we serve. Because I think also that the people we take care of have no idea who we are. They see us in this little lane and they don't see what happens behind the scenes. They don't know what we bring to the table. They don't know what education is required. They don't know any of that. And I really want to showcase that because we're so much bigger than what people see.
Yeah, it's because, nurses are heroes and nurses only belong in the hospital. But that's society. That's what a lot of society sees.
Yeah.
But they don't, the nursing field itself sees the versatility and the vast capabilities that we can do. We have nurse practitioners now that are independent medical providers that open up their own spas and open up their own family practice clinics. Like they're so at one point I was looking at wanting to be you can go to space, like you can go be a nurse at NASA.
Yeah.
And taking care of the astronauts.
Yeah.
Like, of course, now, you can go and be a space nurse and go, be a nurse in the Space Force. That's very much a thing, a new thing, but
Yeah,
very much a thing.
but very much a
Uh,
thing.
and I mean, you can be like, I have another one of my friends. She is a research consultant for a research company.
Mm-hmm.
First, she did some stuff with COVID, and now she does research based off of I believe it's diabetes.
Yeah.
And she does, charting and, verifies the chart and all that good stuff from
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
Or like at one point she was in Puerto Rico for like
Yeah.
7 months because that's where her home base was. So she was on vacation every day.
Yeah.
So, society can say what they want, but I guess it's our job as, continued job as nurses to just let people know that, hey, I am more than just the bedside.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. And until we ourselves accept that and bring that to the table,
Right.
I don't think nursing itself is going to get the recognition that it deserves. It's our responsibility to make
Yeah, it is.
sure
100%.
that we do that. And at the moment, we're not really. I know we have all these nursing organizations and unions and stuff like that, and that's good. There's nothing wrong with that. But clearly, there's something missing, because if there wasn't, we wouldn't be in the situation that we're
Great. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's that old industrial mindset,
in. Mm-hmm.
about, the nurses, hey, we work in hospitals, we serve people, but we don't have to only serve people in the hospital or
Exactly.
in a clinic.
Yeah.
So until we can change that, within ourselves, then,
Yeah.
other people, outside of the nursing field will hopefully follow suit.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. So one question. One of the things that I think contribute to this burnout thing is that we don't take care of ourselves very well.
Right.
So what does self-care mean to you?
Exactly what it states. One has to take care of themselves, because if they don't, you are no good to anyone, to include your patients, to include your family, but especially yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge proponent on, you know, disconnecting from
Uh-huh.
a lot of things, to include social media. I'm a huge, huge, huge proponent of mental health and any level of mental health. Um, take care of yourself. I always say that everybody needs a therapist, because even a therapist needs a therapist.
Mm-hmm.
Um, go talk to somebody, about the things that, you have going on. And then about the thing, talk to somebody about the things that you see, especially if you're a nurse. Like, my first 15 minutes on the ICU as a civilian, somebody coded and died. So it's just like, while we say that doesn't bother us because we have to, tough it up and go on to our next room or our patient, those things stick around and they
Yeah.
bother you,
Yeah.
or even something as crazy as alarm fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
You hear alarm, like, for the longest time, all I kept hearing were monitors go off while I was in the shower. Like, why? Stop it. So, it's just, taking care of yourself mentally. Of course, eating, I'm not eating better and eating right, drinking water. I know us nurses, we love our coffee, we're all about it, but, we got to definitely get better at taking care of ourselves, physically and mentally, spiritually,
You
emotionally,
want everybody in
all,
everywhere.
everything that encompasses you.
Yeah.
I'm a huge, huge proponent of that. So self-care, take care of yourself, or else you can't be well enough to take care of others.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And I asked that of everyone, because I really, really want us to pay attention to ourselves.
Absolutely.
And it's more than just, you talk about, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anyone. That is so very true. But it's more than that also, because if we get into the habit of not taking care of ourselves, when it's brought to our attention, we still don't even know how to do it.
Right.
Because we're so much in the habit of not doing that. We don't even know how to do it.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
I really, really want us to do that. I think it's so, so important. We're not going to get better if we don't.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. Kevin, thank you.
Thank you.
I have looked forward to this. It has been awesome.
Well, I'm
Awesome.
glad.
Awesome.
I'm glad we can. I'm glad we had a good time doing this because like it definitely was a long time coming. With a lot of the
Yeah.
time constraints and stuff like that. So I hope I was able to answer all your questions. You know, with
You
accuracy, but I I definitely am glad that we were able to finally get together to do this because I thoroughly enjoy doing these. These are fun, and I always love meeting new people
yeah.
for any aspect, especially in the nursing field, because I'm always want to be a sponge for knowledge.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. Thank you so, so much. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. You're very welcome.